Step count. It started with the fitness tracker. I bought it during a Black Friday sale, not because I particularly cared about fitness, but because it seemed like one of those things you're supposed to have. Everyone at work had one. Colleagues would compare steps during meetings, sharing smug smiles when their numbers dwarfed everyone else's. It's great for accountability, my coworker Amanda had said, tapping her sleek black band. It's like having a little coach on your wrist. I hated Amanda, but I also hated how much winded embarrassment I felt whenever I had to jog up a flight of stairs. So, I bought the damn thing. For the first week, it worked exactly as advertised. I tracked my steps, checked my heart rate, and dutifully logged my sleep cycles. It synced seamlessly with my phone and sent me encouraging notifications. Great job hitting 10,000 steps today. Keep it up, or you're just 1,200 steps away from your daily goal. The cheerful prompts gave me tiny hits of dopamine, a strange new form of validation from the invisible coach on my wrist. But then it started to act off. The first incident happened during a quiet Sunday afternoon. I was lying on the couch, scrolling aimlessly through social media, when my wrist buzzed. The display lit up with a notification, activity detected, 347 steps logged. I frowned and sat up. I hadn't moved in over an hour. Maybe I had shifted in place or jiggled my foot. It wasn't unheard of for fitness trackers to log false positives. Still, the number felt oddly specific. 347, not 10 or 20. Hundreds. I shrugged it off. These things weren't perfect. The next day, at work, the tracker buzzed again. Activity detected, 812 steps logged. That wouldn't have been weird, except I had been sitting at my desk the entire time. I wasn't one of those people who paced while they talked on the phone or balanced their legs under the table. My job was monotonous, sedentary, and predictable. I stared at spreadsheets, sent emails, and occasionally reheated coffee. When I checked the step log on my phone later, I noticed something else that didn't make sense. The tracker had logged bursts of activity at hours, 3 a.m., 4:27 a.m., 5:13 a.m. I'd been asleep during all of those times. Deeply asleep, according to the app's sleep monitor. These things glitch sometimes, Amanda said when I brought it up over lunch. She didn't look up from her quinoa bowl. You're probably moving more than you realize. I let it go. What else was I supposed to do? It was a $30 piece of tech. Not exactly cutting edge. But over the next week, the step counts spiraled out of control. The tracker logged thousands of steps while I was stationary. Entire miles during the hours I spent unconscious. One morning, I woke up to find it had recorded over 15,000 steps between midnight and 6 a.m., roughly the equivalent of walking a half marathon in my sleep. The data visualization was absurd. Spikes of activity appeared in the dead of night, periods when I couldn't have been doing anything more strenuous than dreaming. My notifications became increasingly bizarre. You're crushing your goals. 20,000 steps today, or keep up the great work, 50 miles logged this week. Did you sleepwalk? My friend Brian joked when I showed him the stats. That's not funny, I muttered. The truth was, I had started to feel strange. Exhausted, yes, but also uneasy. Like I was being watched. I didn't understand why no one was following me. There were no strange figures outside my windows, no stalkers lurking in the shadows. And yet, every time the tracker buzzed, my chest tightened with a cold, inexplicable dread. It didn't help that my apartment, always small and quiet, began to feel unfamiliar. I started noticing subtle things, furniture slightly out of place, kitchen cabinets ajar, the faint smell of earth or damp leaves in the hallway. At first, I blamed it on my growing paranoia. I hadn't been sleeping well, thanks to the nagging fear that I'd wake up to find my tracker had logged another marathon in the middle of the night. But one night, I found footprints. They were faint, just barely visible on the hardwood floor, but they were there. Tracks of something wet, leading from the front door to the living room. The door was locked. Deadbolt. There was no sign of forced entry. The footprints weren't mine. My first instinct was to check the tracker. My hands shook as I pulled up the app. Sure enough, the step log showed nearly 2,000 steps between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. My heart pounded as I double-checked the locks on every window and door. I barely slept that night, jumping at every creak of the floorboards or groan of the pipes. The next morning, I called the customer support line. After navigating the maze of automated menus, I finally reached a representative. She sounded young, perky, and utterly disinterested. "It's probably a calibration issue," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "You can try resetting the device or reinstalling the app. That usually fixes it." I hung up without bothering to argue. She didn't understand. How could she? By the time the next incident happened, I was already afraid. I had started avoiding my apartment as much as possible, staying late at work or aimlessly wandering the city. But I couldn't avoid it forever. I came home one night to find my living room utterly trashed. Cushions were shredded, bookshelves overturned, picture frames shattered on the floor. For one horrifying moment, I thought I'd been robbed. But nothing was missing. My laptop, wallet, and jewelry were all untouched. Even the TV remote was still in its usual place. As I stood there, trying to make sense of the chaos, the tracker buzzed on my wrist. Activity detected, 6,473 steps logged. A chill ran down my spine. I checked the time. 7:12 p.m., the exact moment I had walked through the door. It was as though the tracker had known I would come home to this. As though it had been waiting for me. That's why I noticed the scratches on the wall. They were deep gouges, slashed into the paint in jagged, crisscrossing lines. At first, I thought they were random, but as I leaned closer, I saw something worse. Letters. Words. "Get out." I backed away, my breath hitching. My vision swam, and for a moment, I thought I might pass out. The tracker buzzed again. 1,297 steps to go. "You're almost there." "Almost where?" I ripped the device off my wrist and threw it across the room. It hit the wall with a dull thud and fell to the floor, its screen still glowing faintly. For the first time in days, I felt something close to relief. Until it buzzed again. This time, the sound didn't stop. The tracker vibrated incessantly, a mechanical hum that filled the apartment, loud and grating, like the angry drone of a wasp's nest. I clamped my hands over my ears and stumbled back. The vibrations seemed to reverberate through the walls, the floor, the air itself. The screen lit up one last time. A single word appeared, etched in pale blue light. "Run." I ran. That was 3 days ago. I've been staying at a motel on the edge of town, trying to figure out what to do. I've considered going to the police, but what would I even tell them? That my fitness tracker went haywire and wrecked my apartment? That it's haunted? Possessed? It sounds insane, even to me. I've tried researching similar incidents online, but I haven't found anything that matches what's happening to me. Most of the stories are about faulty devices or strange bugs in the software. Nothing about the tracker itself seeming malevolent. Last night, I decided to get rid of it once and for all. I drove out to a desolate stretch of highway, miles away from town, and threw the tracker into the woods. I watched it disappear into the darkness, swallowed by the trees. For a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this would finally end. But when I got back to the motel, it was waiting for me. It was sitting on the bed, screen glowing faintly. A new notification flashed across the display. Welcome back. 4,000 steps logged. Tonight, something happened that I can't ignore. I was sitting on the bed, staring at the blank screen of the motel TV when my phone buzzed. A notification. Not from the tracker. From the app. You've reached your goal. Congratulations. I stared at the screen, paralyzed. I hadn't won the tracker in days. I hadn't walked anywhere. And then I heard it. Slow, deliberate footsteps in the hallway. Moving toward my door.